this spring.
When you talk about Jahmyr, the first thing that jumps off is obviously the speed and the explosive element. But when you watch him, the power, his ability to break tackles is maybe something that is maybe a little bit underrated, probably not by you guys, but can you talk about that aspect of his game and how maybe some people don't see it, just how powerful of a runner he is?
That's a great question, great point. I think it's the connection of the versatility, not just the power and not just the speed, but also you throw the quickness in there. You have those three components of trying to go get somebody on the ground. And I think that is very beneficial. He does run for power a lot of times around the sideline. If you watch him, one of the things that we critique him probably the most on is how he finishes runs. Well, we really haven't had to do that. He came in with a certain mentality of running it. We thought that it was going to be probably a little bit more of the make you miss, wiggle, get around people, change his speed, then use speed, get around. But he's gotten to the point now where around the sideline, I mean, he's going to go deliver on you, which is a very, very good, a little strategy that he's using to kind of mix it all in. But a great point. He is very hard to get on the ground, and it's not all because of his speed. His legs continues to churn. We feel good about him running interior runs, exterior runs. So he still has a long way to go, but he's growing in the right direction there.
What do you think the next step is for him, and maybe specifically like as a receiver, like how much more can he give in that regard?
Yeah, so the next step, consistency. 17 games. We got to see game 1, game 2, game 3, game 4. We're past the point now of where he's coming along. He understands this part of protection. Now he's there now. He needs to understand that part of it, and just the requirements that go along with it. Second part, what you're talking about as far as what can he can do. He was ready last year to start doing more and more and more. Our talent at other positions, at receiver, at tight end, sometimes it can all kind of work together so the ball is equally distributed. Now what we need him to do from a passing game standpoint is go to that next level. I do think that there's a certain difference between route running from the backfield and being a really, really sufficient and efficient check down runner versus it is to be a great route runner, a guy that can run all types of choice. We know we've seen him do those things, but now can you go into the slot and do a little bit more down the field, some intermediate stuff? Can we continue to grow him there? And that's what we're trying to do.
It was almost like a switch with him at some point last year where Jahmyr was able to turn it on and finish that season strong. What do you feel like changed? What was that switch, and how do you guys get that going earlier this year?
A lot of times when the public see the switch came on, it may have came on 2 weeks earlier, and it may have not came on for 2 more weeks. Sometimes there's some exceptional blocking that happens to where, boom, I'm hitting it and I'm gone. I could have got in there and got an 8-yard run. He just gets in there and gets an 80-yard run, right? So there are some things that help you, but I really think what happened is when he was forced into the starter role and all that issues that comes with every down football and the stress of dealing with all of the coaches and every single play and getting prepared for practice, it's a lot different. So that experience is a real experience, and unless you've lived it, you don't quite understand it. It's a little bit different of preparing a week to go in as the number 1 back versus you just happening to be the back once the game is going on, someone goes down. So a lot of that it was good for him, but also just the normal maturation process that young players, and he's still a young player. I always have to, when he has his helmet on, it's hard not to see him as an older player, but the moment he takes his helmet off, you know that you're dealing with a young person, a young player. But that was kind of the point in time where I felt like, boom, okay, he's a little bit better than he was.
I want to talk about 2 backs that are good like that in game time comes. How do you balance out the getting both of them some work with the hot hand guy and a guy that you feel that impacting the game?
You can as a coach, you've been on the sideline a lot, and you guys even watching it, you can feel a guy that's building momentum in a game. But you also have to have what we have in the back of our mind is, what does the tape say? Who's this guy being consistently throughout the week? And a lot of times when the guy's hitting his groove, we see that groove on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday start to show up, either from Tuesdays when the questions are coming in from some of the stuff that I'm talking to him about, or Wednesday we're on the practice field and we get to look the first time that he hasn't seen and he diagnoses it. So we do have to use some of the history that we have with him, but there is just the feeling that in the game when a guy is hot, and they understand that. A lot of times you've even seen our guys where both David and Ja are on the sideline, and Craig gets hot. Craig will get hot in the middle of a series, and there's no way at that point in time either one of them are going to go in, and I'm not going to take him out. So we do feel that, and it's a little bit easier to feel that at back because it's such an every single play position, whether you're in protection, whether you're in the route, or whether you're in the run. So it's a little bit easier to get that feel with backs than it may be, say, like a receiver where he's blocking on the outside, but maybe he hadn't got a target for different reasons and coverages. Well, when we call a run or we're killing it to another run, we're going to find out what that back is about.
Coach, right on the time of your guys' playoff push, Louis Riddick said that he's seen MVP potential in Jahmyr Gibbs. Just from your time around him, have you seen that kind of like start to process itself or maturation?
Man, that's even hard when you start thinking about the people that have worn that coat in this league. I haven't thought about it. I have seen growth in a young player. I know that he's super talented. I also know that there's things that he can get better at. And the flip side of it is sometimes people are looking for all positive, all negative. What I'm trying to do is just get him better as a person, as a player. And in that process, if he blossoms into what you say, man, it'd be great to be along for the ride.
And just staying with the backs, obviously it was your first year with David and Jahmyr, it's a unit. Just from what they did last year and how important it was to the offense going into the season, do you think that there's another gear that they can hit?
Oh, absolutely. The tape says it. It's all over the tape. I think that when you have guys that are super talented, that going from good to great is probably the hardest thing you have to do. And what we're doing, a lot of people, think about when you get to that level, man, I've done a good job. But right now, they all feel like, man, we weren't good enough. And that's the way that we're going to fight complacency, but it's also the way that we're going to take the next step. And that is what we expect. We do need to see another step. We've talked about some of the passing game, but there's even things in the run game. We're never going to be perfect, but there's even things in the run game where we can tighten up and clean up, and we will.
You such a small sample size for Sione, but what was it that you guys saw in that process, and when you watched him, that you're like, he's a running back and he can play running back in the NFL?
First of all, when you get a chance to be around him and meet him, when you say grit, when you see Dan Campbell, when you see the Detroit Lions, Brad nailed it on the stamp on who this kid is, right? The first time that we had him, in an interview segment, he was very honest. He was coming from a situation where he had played both sides of the football. The academia part of what we do in the NFL, protection-wise, route-wise, all that stuff was his first time really kind of hearing it. So I put him through every single thing. It was hard. I know it was as hard as I could make it for him. But what he didn't know, he was very honest. What we gave him, he was able to regurgitate it really quickly. And then probably the icing is the second time I got a chance to see him, which for young players, they need to understand this. For a coach, even for my kids, I want them to hear this type of talk. When he came into the building, he had went and watched all of our tape, just about 80% of our schemes, and he had personally drew all them out versus different coverages versus different fronts. And he didn't know the name of it. He just knew the technical name of it. So when he sat down, he had this folder, and he just started opening and flipping. He said, "Coach, you guys run this right." And I was like, okay, that was against Las Vegas. Okay, that was against, and it was refreshing to see an old school mentality of just doing the work, not having anybody else do it for you, you having it all drawn out the way that it needs to be drawn out, and then preparing for those visits in that way. So that was impressive.
You led into what I wanted to ask about, just his ability to learn, I guess, because we all know he's still raw at the position. So since he's been in town, can you just share maybe how much growth you've seen from him and really, I guess, what the upside is since he is so...
Yeah, the great part of like a guy when you get this, at that age, but he's already very sharp. We knew that mentally he was going to be a sharp kid. But now we're not really having to reteach, or it's all a flat surface for us. This is just foundation. So these foundational pieces that we get, he's not having to cancel out two offenses that he had in college or why we're doing this. He just understands, okay, here's what we're doing, here's why we're doing it, and this is how it fits into the schematical whole for our football club. So everything that he learns every day, he has it. I mean, he's been as good as like most guys we see from a rookie standpoint, from a mental error standpoint. The fundamental piece, we still got to go a little ways, but mental error-wise, he's been really good.
Scottie, Dan was up there talking about he thinks you're ready to be a head coach, and I wonder what you took away from the accelerator experience in Nashville here.
Outstanding overall experience that the NFL is allowing to take place now for a lot of different reasons. First, you're being put around the best peers that you possibly can be around. You're getting information that is running between the peers that no one really talks about a lot, that is very helpful, whether it be defensively, offensively, special teams, or just culture-driven ways to build a club. So you're getting a lot of these interactions. It's what most of your time is being spent with these guys. But then the second piece, the way they lay out the days to really take you through the first 90, and that's a very critical part of becoming a head coach in your first job, of just understanding all the pitfalls that may come, all the superlatives that may come, and how to deal with, making sure your time is equally divided in the places that it has to be divided in. And then the media training, as far as what we do in our business is very tight, but at the same time, we do need to understand that one of our biggest assets are you guys, and being able to get the information to our fan base, which is really, really critical. So those are some of the things that it did. But the final piece, by letting us be around, ownership, management, it gives you a great understanding that not only is it about football, but it's also about people. A lot of us get so caught up as football coaches we're schematically sound, we understand how to coach the players, but at the same time, you're still working with somebody that may not be 100% in the football, but they're 100% in the humankind. So we got to find out better ways to be able to merge those relationships. So that's why it was so great for us.
Scottie, I want to go off the board just a little bit, because we always questions about Jahmyr and David, and you got a draft pick, but Jake Funk, it's a guy you've been with now 3 times. Had him in Maryland, had him in Indy.
Yep.
What is it about him that you want to keep that guy around in the rooms that you're coaching?
Professionalism. He's a really skilled player, physical. You install it, you walk it, you go out and put him on the grass. He's going to get done what he's supposed to get done, like a lot of those guys in the room. I do think that there is some, maneuverability and wiggle that he has that shows up in the run game, especially on the perimeter in certain wide zone schemes. He's very efficient as a route runner, really as well. I've kind of known him for a long time. He's known since my kids were playing, small soccer to now, where I'm probably in week 10 right now in a regular season football. That's where I'm at from a fatigue standpoint, because I'm traveling with the soccer team, track team, and this. I don't even know what I have to do today. I call my wife at the end of the day and I ask her what I have to do. But I've had Jake since that long of a time, so you build relationships with guys, but you also know that people that are consistent are consistently consistent, right? So that's exactly who he is. Yeah.
Just follow up on what John asked about the accelerator. I don't think you've ever hidden, your desire to one day be a head coach again, because you were in college, and that talk came up a little bit last year. Do you have a preference, NFL, college? How do you what do you view your future as in that regard?
I love the National Football League. I think I said that the last time. Right now, where I am and, where my children are, as much as I'm tired and I don't want to do what I got to do today, I would tell you I go back to college. But the NFL allows you to do more than just be a football coach, but it's all ball. I think it's very critical and important that my children have a father figure that does things the right way with them, not telling them, but actually with them. So for me, the National Football League, even though it doesn't, give us a tremendous amount of time, the time that we do have is very precious.
How would you feel about the change in the offseason and then was talking about it together?
This is a league of adjustment. Okay, so I definitely will adjust no matter what they do, but we'll figure that out when it gets here. But just really do love this league, love the opportunity and the accelerator, and appreciate you guys.